Awesome. So, just say, real honour to be here teaching you all. Thank you all so much for coming. So we're looking at straight footlocks today. So it used to be that footlocks were like considered cheating, right? It was for people that couldn't pass guards, right? That used to be the rule. But now, with the sub-only tournaments and the change of rule set, like people look at them differently. And even people get attack footlocks to set up guard passes, which we'll look at the end of this. And one of the things is straight footlocks. I remember reading a post saying black belts should never tap to a straight footlock, which is complete rubbish, right? If they're applied correctly, it's a brutal submission. You can get a lot of leverage on it. Right? But with leg locks, we need to understand some fundamentals. One of the fundamentals is foot position, right? So there's a dominant foot position and a not so dominant foot position. So it's the same if we're stood up, we often do this pummeling ropes. So if we're stood up, we do this pummeling, right? I get double underhooks. If I get to here, this is thought to be dominant in wrestling, right? Everyone knows that. With footlocks, if my feet are inside his feet here, this is a dominant position for me, right? Because at any point I can slide in and start attacking footlocks here, right? For him to slide in and attack footlocks on me, like, he's got to come inside because that had to pummel his leg. From the outside, there's the one Pyro Terror footlock that everyone brings up. But apart from that, there's pretty much no leg locks. The same if I'm stood up, right? You go down, and he's like playing guard. If I got my feet in the middle, I can start getting in on the legs here. If he's got his feet in the middle, I don't really have any leg locks. It's very easy for him to just slide through and get on my legs here. So we always want to be fighting for the inside foot position. And the reverse is true. If you're rolling with someone who's great at leg locks, you just want to avoid it completely, just make sure you've always got your feet on the inside, making their life difficult, and that will make it very difficult for them to get in on your legs. So we're going to do a little drill that's going to help you get this in your head. So we're going to start double guard pull, right? The worst thing in jiu-jitsu is a double guard pull, right? I got into jiu-jitsu from like other martial arts and things, and when I first got in, I'd see this in competition, I'd be like, how embarrassing, right? But we're going to start here just to learn this principle. So, the same as I would if I was stood up, just pummeling in. At the moment, I'm losing the leg lock battle because he's got inside position. So I'm just going to bring my feet to the inside here, like that, and now I'm winning, right? But I want to enter a leg lock position from this. So I'm going to grab his foot, kick my leg through, and then, so when you play baseball, you like slide for the base in baseball, right? Yeah. So I lift his leg up, put my leg through, and slide in, and get onto this leg. And this is just the position I want you to get in. So I got my foot on his waist, making sure I'm not breaking the rules here. My knee to my heel here, and this foot hidden behind his thigh. I'll do it on the other side so you can see as well. So I pummel in, grab the leg, kick through, slide in, heel on the hip, my knee to my heel, and this one tucked underneath here, right? We used to kind of do leg locks like this, but there's this gap between my two legs, and that's the gap he can start escaping from. If I do it this way, there's no gap here, right? There's one, if you're doing like normal jiu-jitsu rules, this is a really strong position. There's one counter leg lock, which is why my foot is hidden right under his butt cheek here, right? So the counter one, if you do this to me, so he slides in here. Now, if his foot is not very well hidden under this leg, and it's kind of like that, I can go two hands on his heel and heel hook him like this. So that'd be very embarrassing for him, right? Easy finish for me. But if he just hides that under there, there's no way I can get to that leg. So the drill is just this. We're going to go here, both feet in, slide in, there, come out, and then he's going to go both feet in, slide in, like that, and then come out. I'm just going to keep going, backwards and forwards, getting really smooth entries onto the legs. Is everyone happy with that? Awesome. 1, 2, 3. So, we're going to start looking at the footlock now. So, I get both feet in here, right? I slide in, there, and I get to this position, right? I don't want my hips too far forward, because now kind of fall backwards, unless you've got amazing abs, it's kind of hard to sit up. So I keep my hips away just a little bit like this. Now, let's talk about the mechanics of the straight foot lock. What I'm trying to do is push his toes so his foot goes so straight that it hurts, right? Like that. So if the whole purpose is the pushing this bit. So most people rack, they lean back, and look, his toes are like, I'm not doing anything to them, right? So what I'm going to do from this position here, I'm going to lift up his foot, and my shoulder is going to push his toes. You see? His toes are bending backwards. There's already a lot more pressure than, right? So here, toes bending backwards. And now my hand, I'm going to bring it through, and I want it to hit his heel there. So we talk about leverage. If I grab his toes, and my wrist would be here, right? It bends his foot there. If my wrist is here, right, you see his whole leg just moves. It doesn't work, right? So one of the common mistakes people footlock is they get here, then their hand is halfway up the calf, right? Maybe taps out of politeness, just trying to make me feel good. But I'm definitely not going to submit him. So I lift it up, shoulder roll backwards here. My wrist is going to hit his heel, right? There's multiple ways of doing this. We might learn in other classes. There's this grip, and there's a few other ways, but the way I like is the simplest. So my wrist is hitting his heel here, right? And my hand has to be higher on my chest muscles here. If you look at his toes, the pressure I've got on his toes, if this drops, now his toes can wiggle about. Loads of room, right? If I shoulder roll backwards and keep this hand high, now he tries to move his toes, there's very little movement there, right? It's already really uncomfortable. So he's already tapping. Whereas I could be there, putting all the effort in the world, and you're not going to tap. So baseball slide in. So keep my hips there, keep my hips here. I want to be, one of the little hard things to do is I want to be close enough that it keeps a bend in his leg, right? Because most guys know a defense is put the boot on. So you hear some competition a lot. They go, put the boot on, and he does that. That's to put the boot on. He's got to be able to lock out his legs straight. So if I can stay a little bit closer to him, it makes it hard for him to do that. Not impossible, but hard. I lift his foot up, roll my shoulder back, bending his toes, wrist hitting his heel, hand high on the chest. I'm going to reinforce it with my other hand here. He's already unhappy. Right, and then a little lean back and he's going to tap. If I'm struggling, I roll to the side, lean back and tap. If he still doesn't tap, right, I might do it a little bit looser. Don't keep looking at him. Everyone like admires them. They're like, I can't make him tap. Why is it he's so handsome, right? So I want to look behind me and I get so much more leverage for the finish. Right? So I come on both feet in. Baseball slide in. Lift the foot up here. Roll my shoulder over his toes. Wrist hit the heel. Keep it high on my chest. Reinforce it with the other hand. I can lean back, shoulder roll. He's going to tap straight away. If you've got it tight, it's so easy to do. And everyone online says, black belts shouldn't tap straight foot locks. They shouldn't. Yeah. If you're struggling, when I go to the side, I don't want to let my elbow fold because I'm going to lose position on the leg. So I kind of, imagine just falling over it there. Like that. If they're lifting their hips up, you're doing it right because you're trying to take the angle off. Is everyone happy with that? 1, 2, 3. One little detail that can make this even more unpleasant for him, right? And some of you guys have done lots of leg locks are already doing this anyway. So everything the same. Lift up, shoulder roll, nice and high. Strong grip, fall to the side here. Now, his natural reaction is to kind of lift his hips up to try and take the pressure off here. So what I want to do is follow him. So you see my hips come off the floor and I get a lot more pressure into it here. So it's not just, what was Pritton's class yesterday was a baby bridge. It's not so much baby bridge, it's like more big bridge here. So if you lift your hip off, it takes away any angle he can create by lifting his hips up. And it gives you a lot more drive into the foot here. You'll really feel the difference when you do it. So up, shoulder roll, high hand, roll my shoulder back, come to the side, hip up, get the finish. So just add that in, and we'll do something a bit more creative. Everyone happy? 1, 2, 3. So in jiu-jitsu we have like systems, right? I do something, he does something, I have a reaction to that. And hopefully instead of who's the stronger, more angrier person, it's like who's the most technical, got the most knowledge is going to win. Not always, but hopefully. So we're going to look at the kind of really common way to stop a straight foot lock and then how we can counter that, which will help the success. So if you foot lock me, this guy's straight foot lock. So the first thing I do is be really tall. Makes life much easier if you're really tall, right? Because like when you start jiu-jitsu, most of your natural reactions are wrong, right? That's what's really irritating about jiu-jitsu. Like whatever you think you should do, it's usually the wrong thing to do. So if I get here, most people go, it's got my foot, and try and pull it out. And what does that do? It puts it right at the end of my foot and he taps me. So what I want to do, there's lots of ways of defending this, but my favorite way is I'm going to grab his hand here and I'm going to hold on to him. Gi is much easier. Grab a little power. Grab his hand. I'm going to kick through and put the boot on like this, right? There. So I straighten my leg. Now I've got all the muscles in my quads, everything else. Now, he's still got this kind of shoulder roll into my toes, and you might be able to get it back. So I'm going to kick through and twist it here. So now my foot's kind of in his shoulder blade here instead of on his shoulder there. Right. But he's still got a foot lock, right? If we're playing those rules, now he's just going to heel hook me instead. I've probably made it worse, right? So to do anything, this foot is the problem. Because if I go forward, he can kick me away. He's got all this control with this foot. So I'm going to grab his toes and push it to the mat here, right? Like that. And then from there, I'm going to sit on his leg like that. Now, when I've been taught this before, there's always the optimistic instructor that's like, and just step over this leg and you get out, right? Never going to happen, right? He's of course going to switch to something else and there's going to be a scramble, but it's always nice to be optimistic, right? So he's got the foot lock. I grab his hand, kick through, twist my foot. This is going to be doing advanced leg locks later. When we're doing heel hooks and stuff, this is the wrong thing to do. This is IBJJF rules, because if I twist my foot that way, I'm giving him a heel hook. But if we're playing normal gi rules, this is fine, right? We're in the beginners division. I push the foot off, and I sit on it here. Now there's going to be a scramble. Most of the time, he's probably going to let go of my foot and try and come up or do something clever. If he does nothing, I bring this leg over this leg, without kicking in the face, grab his head, and drive forward, and hopefully he keeps trying to footlock me for some reason there. So, one more time. This is also why this foot position is better than the one you may have learnt before, where we kind of go here. Because now, this is so easy to push off. If you have his knee covering his heel, if I push his toes now, his heel kind of hits his leg, this is much harder to push off. So hold, kick, twist, foot to the floor, sit on it. He does nothing, so I grab his head, bring my leg over this top leg, and come up into mount. That will never happen, but you won't get foot locked. Everyone happy with that? 1, 2, 3. There's only really like two very effective ways to get out the straight foot lock. There's this way and standing up. We'll look at standing up at the end, but we'll start to deal how to counter when someone does this, right? So it gets a straight foot lock here, right? And this is, they go here and come on. So I got my foot lock. He pushes my foot off here. As he goes to sit on it, it's going to sit on it. I'm going to pull it through here, right, to the other side of his leg. Right. From there, I'm going to roll this way down like that. Do that movement again. So here, he pushes it off, sits on it. I pull it through. I don't want to sit on my leg. It takes my mobility away. So I'm in this position, right? I can maybe try some of these foot locks, but so now I'm going to roll this way. I want to keep this shin on his hamstring. Right, I go there. Right. From here, you see I've got his leg trapped. I've still got the arm around the leg. I'm going to get my knees as wide as I can. One hand on the mat, one hand on the foot. Keep my hand high on the chest, and then look up and straighten my back. to get the finish, right? A bit like a one-handed guillotine kind of sensation. Same thing, if I let my hand slip down to my belly, I don't get any leverage. If I keep it nice and high, arch my back, I get a really easy finish here. Oh, you got to do it now. Mess this up. This is a lot of pressure. Everyone's watching. So I get here, pulls his foot out, good. Roll belly down. Good. Legs as wide as you can, arch up, look at the ceiling. Beautiful, just like that. Let's see it again. Okay. One more time. One more time. Just a cheaper. Here. Foot off. As I sit on it, he wants to pull it through. Boom. Here. Roll belly down. He's got at least one leg on my thigh here, arching up, and the lower he gets his hips, the more leverage. If you need to struggle, get your hand higher on your chest. There you go. It's really good. Everyone happy with that? 1, 2, 3. One of the issues with leg locks is that if you don't get it, often the person escaping will end up on top of you, right? So whenever I'm looking at leg locks, I always want to have a plan B or plan C that involves, okay, I can't get this toe hold here, or whatever it may be. I want to finish on top, right? I want to exit. So I try to, I like footlocks for another reason. It's pretty terrible at wrestling. So if I can attack a leg lock, and even if I can't get the finish, I can end up on top, I'm really happy with that, right? So I'm going to do everything the same. Go for my straight footlock. Here, he's going to push my foot off. I'm going to sit on it. I'm going to roll. I'm going to keep this foot in the middle of his legs on top of his thigh this time. So I'm going to go here and look my belly down, footlock. Now let's say I can't get this, right? Especially kind of someone with really strong feet. I'm not allowed to start heel hooking him here. I'm in a fantastic position just to turn back in. I'm in combat base and I'm the guy on top trying to pass here, right? And from here, like if you go with someone good at leg locks, they're not just going to let you get a really good leg lock position, right? You've got to like trick it and fake it and like have some setups. So what I like to do, I go belly down here, I come back to combat base and immediately back step into honey hole and I get a really nice leg lock entry off there. But the moment I'm not breaking the rules. I can straight foot on this leg. If I start heel hooking it, it's a different rule set. So don't worry about that. I did a classic teacher thing there, show 27 unnecessary things. So I'm here, straight foot lock. He goes to sit on it. Boom, I come over, inside leg pinning his thigh. I try and get this finish. I didn't get it, so all I do is twist back. I'm in combat base. If you know the 411 entry, it's just back step because I'm already in really deep, but I can get in on his legs into a really dominant leg lock position. So again, straight foot lock, he pushes it off, belly down, foot lock, get nice and low, turn back in, combat base, advanced guys, back step, get back in on the legs in an even more deadly position for him. Everyone happy with that? If you don't know the honey hole entry, don't hear show. Right? Everyone happy with that? 1, 2, 3. So the other thing will happen is people will just stand up, which is really annoying if you're trying to leg lock someone. So my instructor, I get trained with Roger Gracie, I'm very lucky, and every time I try and get any leg position on him, stand up. And it's very frustrating, but we can still deal with it. So I'm here. In a gi, it's a lot easier for him to stand up. He's going to hold my lapel like this. No gi, it's a bit harder. The way I like to do it, or you're going to do it, you tuck this foot in here, hold on to them, and you're going to roll over this front foot and stand all the way up. Beautiful, like this, right? And then he's going to start trying to clear my feet and butt. So do that again. Other side, other side. So I'm here, he tucks his foot in, boom, grabs the head and comes up like this, there. Now, this is not necessarily the best thing to do on a leg locker, or when someone's got a really good leg lock game, because you're actually giving him loads of openings. So start going here, he gets back in on the legs, and he's trying to leg lock you, right? So you're giving him all this space. Do it again. Oh. come up, start spinning, switch the other leg, and gets it on the leg. Just showing off now. So, what I want to do is be able to just bump them back down to their basic footlock position so we can go back to what we can do. So this is why the foot position we did at the start, this position, not this position, is so important, right? So if you stand up again, or here. If I'm in a traditional footlock position like this, and I try and bump him, just going to move his right leg and not fall over, right? If I do this one, knee to heel, and this foot on his hamstring, now I bump him, he falls over, and I'm in on my straight footlock straight away, right? So I can bump him straight back down, yeah? So you're going to learn, practice two moves, those two moves. So the person being attacked, you're going to practice the stand up. So he tucks the foot in, grabs the head, comes up, here. Person on the bottom, he's going to be trying to push my foot off, and this is, now he's passed, the mount would be really embarrassing. So, knee to heel, twist the foot like this, and my foot jams this leg and that leg, bump him back down, and then you can go back and run through the footlock if you want. Right? A little note on the standing up, it's a bit sketchy depending on the rule set you're playing. Because essentially, if he does this, he kind of has to twist a little bit this way. So that might give me entry on his heel. Right? If we're playing IBJJF, it doesn't matter, because you can't heel hook. But if you're playing EBI or ADCC rules, you just got to be a little bit aware of that. It can still work, because even though I've got his heel, if he stands up, you can kind of stomp out of it, and then I'm back to offering him over and trying again. Everyone happy with that? 1, 2, 3. Before we finish, did anyone have any questions? There's no bad questions. Probably is some bad questions. Everyone happy? Perfect. Just to say that, so we've got like open, I don't want to use a lot of the time in this class, you know, an hour to show you kind of a little system of straight footlocks is not a lot of time. So I don't want to use any of this class doing some sparring and drilling and so on. So we've got open mat later, so if you can try in the open mat to do some rounds and practice it with a little bit of resistance. And with that, right, years ago, I bought Call of Duty for Xbox, right? Some of you played it. Right? So I put it in, and I'm like, online mode, right? I walked forward, I was dead. I walked left, I was dead. Walked right, I was dead. I was like, I stay still, dead, right? I was like, how can you play this game online? This is ridiculous, right? So then I go to like tutorial mode, and they're like, this is how to shoot the gun. Like, walk slowly. And then it puts you on like an easy level against like, you know, the robot that just spins and shoots at the ceiling. And then it gets a little bit harder, and a little bit harder, and a little bit harder, and a little bit harder. And then, after a while, you play the online mode, you can kind of, I still die a lot, but you can do much better, right? You can figure out how to win the game, right? But you can't figure out how to win the game if you just go straight to impossible mode, right? And it's very disheartening. No one likes losing a billion times over and over again. So inevitably, you quit and play Super Mario instead, right? So the same with Jiu-Jitsu. If you're learning something new, do it with like low levels of resistance, right? Because if it's not working, we're just going to give up and go back to our A game and just be like, I don't do leg locks, right? Like those guys. And especially with leg locks, it's just the fact your legs have less nerve endings than your upper body, right? We need to be less sensitive with our legs. Most of the time, your feet are a little bit different, but your knees certainly, most of the time we're walking around, we don't need high sensitivity. It's very rare you would feel something with your knees, right? So they're not very sensitive. Which means if you get put in a heel hook or something, it doesn't necessarily hurt that much. And someone earlier was like, this isn't really hurting. It's like, just because it doesn't hurt that much doesn't mean it won't break. So when you're training leg locks, do low resistance, let your partner win, take it in turns, give them feedback like we do in the brilliant class we put yesterday. And if you get caught, just tap and try again, right? Like, I think it's a really hard lesson to learn, but one of my purple belt students, he caught me in a Kimura, and I was like, I'm not tapping to this guy. I watched my arm break. So, and I learned the hard way. That was 2 weeks before I went to Brazil to train, which was perfect timing. So, when you're training, keep it fun, keep it light, let each other work, and then when you have a competition come up, that's the time to put in those hard rounds where you're trying your A game and really trying to kill each other. That's still a couple of weeks out. And you'll progress much, much faster, and it'll be much more fun, you have much less injuries, and you can keep going a lot longer. Just to say what a huge honor it is to be here teaching alongside such amazing other instructors and Christian as well. It's a real honor for me. Like years ago, I started jiu-jitsu, and like maybe a lot of you now, you're like a white belt and you're like, I'm going to do this for a living, right? And I had this dream that one day I'd be able to teach a class of like fantastic people like yourselves. And because of you all coming and Christian inviting me, that's become a reality. So thank you very much. Cheers everyone, go and have lunch.